when people ask me, what is it that you preach? Is it the three angels' messages? And I say, no, what I preach is Jesus, because Jesus is the good news. Jesus is the gospel. The gospel is not a theory, it is a person.
What I preach is Jesus because Jesus is the good news. Now, I don't say do not preach Jesus, but I ask, why do you not preach the three angels' message? Now, if your mission at the United Nations no longer allows for the three angels' messages, then according to the mission statement of the church, that should be cut off.
Hello there, friends. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Once again, you're here with Pastor James Avalon. This is the Advent Media Connect. Listen, in today's video, the title is Be Ye Not Unequally Yoked. And this is presented by Hank on the Med Missionary. There's going to be a link provided in the description of this video. Make sure you go over there and give them the viewership. So what are we going to be talking about today? This is an appeal to the leaders of our church to take a stand. The reason this is significant is because of what is happening in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. There is divisions, there is tearing apart. Some people are losing confidence in the institution of our church for good reasons, of course. And these issues must be addressed publicly. They must be addressed publicly because the sins are public. People have said, you are airing out the dirty laundry of our church. Listen, the dirty laundry has been hanging on the line. We're just trying to take it down. This is a quote from SD Apparels, by the way. So having said that, let's get right into this. I'm going to share a number of part of this video here. I'm going to stay out of the way. First of all is the question, why did the GC decide to join the UN?
The UN is very happy with the status that they've awarded the General Conference because they can now use this alleged voice of the SDA Church. And the General Conference session delegates did not realize, the 1980 delegates did not realize what they had created, and the 1985 delegates did not realize what was happening under their very noses. So, back to the Adventist Review, the General Conference receives NGO status from the UN. Now listen, what did the General Conference gain? What did the General Conference gain from UN status? The General Conference now has the right to be represented at all ECOSOC meetings in New York and Human Rights Commission meetings in Geneva. So General Conference is now one of the big boys. They're at the table. They can meet in New York with ECOSOC and the Human Rights Commission in Geneva. It's great. They've got their publicity. The Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department, PAL, is very prominent. They are the appointed General Conference liaison at the UN. Now, notice how the General Conference, who is gaining this status, who now has the right to attend these important meetings in New York and Geneva, how they sell it to the church membership. Listen to this. We believe that the new NGO status will help the SDA Church establish a presence in another forum and thus enhance its positive Christian outreach. So this is the benefit that is offered to the church. The church will be able to enhance its positive Christian outreach. The General Conference president of the time, Neil C. Wilson, also said that we will exert a positive Christian outreach through this membership. So, this is allegedly what the church gains, but the General Conference gains the right to be represented at these meetings in New York and Geneva. And the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department, they gain the responsibility to be the main liaison at the UN.
All right, you've seen that and you heard that. We're going to ask questions and let the video answer some of them. Now, the second question is this. What is the appeal that the SDA Pearl and many Seventh-day Adventists, including myself, are calling the leaders of the church to do? Listen to the appeal.
I want to appeal to the General Conference session, whether you have been willingly participating in creating a second voice to the church, or you have been duped. I want you to wake up and realize the General Conference session is the highest authority. You can stop this. You can stop this at the next General Conference session.
Now, that's the appeal. Now, let's move on to another question. What has been the result of this union? Now, we know as Seventh-day Adventists, we have been called to preach the three angels' messages. Okay. So if you are not a Seventh-day Adventist, this message is not for you. You're not going to understand what we're talking about here. But if you are a Seventh-day Adventist, you know exactly what I'm saying. As a reminder, this is what we are told in Evangelism 1:19. This says here, in a special sense, Seventh-day Adventists have been set in the world as watchmen and light bearers. To them has been entrusted the last warning for a perishing world. On them is shining wonderful light from the word of God. They have been given a work of most solemn import, the proclamation of the first and second and third angels' message. There is no other work of so great importance. They ought to allow nothing else to absorb their attention. Now, with that being said, here is the next question. So how has these relationships with the UN that the General Conference has built since 1980, how has this retarded the progress of the work and the preaching of the three angels' messages? Friends, you are going to listen to the history, a pattern. You will see a change in the language, and how much of an influence have they had? Take a listen.
But let's test the claim offered to the church that you will have the opportunity to exert a positive Christian outreach. Now, how can we test this? Well, as a member, as an NGO member with status, we are required to submit certain reports every 4 years. Now, some of these historic reports have been uploaded, and you can access them through the website and read them. I won't read all of them. The most recent two have not been uploaded yet. They're not digitally available to us. But we can review these reports to ask ourselves whether this opportunity to exert a positive Christian outreach is being realized. Now, before we do that, I just want to highlight this one thing. When the General Conference administration applied for status, they clearly note the year we were established is 1963. The year of registration for the status is 1985. But accompanying with this information is the mission statement. The mission statement of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The mission statement of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is to call all people to become disciples of Jesus Christ. Now it becomes relevant to what we opened up with, Dr. Joyce, to proclaim the everlasting gospel embraced by the three angels' messages. So the three angels' messages was very much the mission statement of the Seventh-day Adventist Church at the time of applying for status. We want to proclaim the everlasting gospel, the three angels' messages, to prepare the world for Christ's soon return. That was our mission statement in 1985. Now we're going to review these reports and see whether we are achieving this positive Christian outreach, which allegedly we will be able to exert now that we have a seat at the table. I've just overshot that one trying to move this Zoom bar. So, how has being unequally yoked with the UN situated us as a church to exert a positive Christian influence, to fulfill this mission statement of the three angels' message and preparing the world for Jesus Christ's soon return? Well, 1995, we say that the mission of the church, in those reports, these are in those reports. Let me actually take you to the website so you can see. This is not hearsay. I'm not making this up.
What reports are these that you're referring to?
I'm going to show you right here. So remember when I said you can go to the NGO website and search for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Then you will see the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists. They're right there. Now, if you click on that, it'll take you to the profile of the church, and it'll give you the consultative status. But here on profile, there's this drop-down. And if you go into activities, that is where you can see a summary, and this summary includes the mission statement. The mission statement right here. The mission statement right there that I've just read to you.
And so you're saying that the mission statement of the church is listed in that report,
Yes.
as the three angels' message is there in 1985.
That's right. But now we've got to look here under consultative status. Now we've got to go into these reports, and we will see the trajectory. In 1985, we still were bold enough to go around saying the mission statement of the church is to promote the three angels' messages. But now, as we go through these, now the last two, as I said, aren't available online yet. But we can go through all these reports, and if you click on them, it's a big PDF, and you search for Adventist because they deal with many NGOs in one report. So I have done that filtering for you. I'm back on the presentation now. And if we go through the first one just had a very brief statement on the mission statement of the church. It just says, the mission of the church is to proclaim to all people the everlasting gospel as described in the Holy Bible. That is still an honorable one, although a bit brief. 1995, the Seventh-day Adventist Church seeks to lead people to a saving relationship with Jesus Christ and to enhance the quality of life, not only for its members, but for people in all nations of the world. It's still okay. I can see some focus shifting from three angels message to Jesus Christ. I have no objection to any message of Jesus Christ. I'm just saying I'm noticing a deviation of mission statement. Now, by 2010, the values and principles of the Adventist Church find expression in a wide variety of activities that parallel United Nations goals. Are you noticing how we went from 1985, our mission statement is the three angels' messages and preparing the world for Jesus Christ's soon return, to 1995, the everlasting gospel gets a brief mention, 1999, at least Jesus Christ gets a mention, but by 2010, the way the PAL, and this is the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department that handles the correspondence with the United Nations, the way they represent our church has completely removed Jesus Christ or the three angels' messages. And now it says that we find expression in our values and principles, find expression in activities that parallel the United Nations goals. Now, remember
That's extremely troubling.
Now, remember what we said about why the United Nations wants to recruit bodies like the General Conference Administration. They want to capture the voice of the body and use that voice to promote the United Nations goals. You can see it here, how this is happening. 2014, the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, now notice that is administration, that's not the session, is the world governing body of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a Christian organization that promotes better life, both spiritually and physically, for individuals and communities. The values and principles of the organization find expression in a wide variety of activities that parallel the United Nations goals. Now, sadly, 2018 and 2022 are not available. But we can see the mission drift. We can see the focus is drifting. What happened to the three angels' messages and Jesus? They have been supplanted by United Nations goals. What happened to exerting a positive Christian outreach? For now, it is a United Nations goals outreach, which is being promoted here. Being unequally yoked has a chilling effect on the three angels' messages.
Extremely troubling.
All right. Now you've seen that and you heard that. This is why, friends, it's such an amazing things happening here as you listen to the history, and you need to take a listen to this video for the rest of the substance. Now, when you go to ADRA, all right, and you ask the question, there it is right there, ADRA, UK, United States, whichever place you want to ask. And now look at this. Why does ADRA not proselytize? It tells you ADRA does not proselytize. They do not teach. They do not preach. Why? It operates and it motivates by love and has no strings attached. Now, they have their reasons, right? They say they're doing this irrespective of race, irrespective of gender and religious affiliation. But it does not proselytize. It doesn't preach the gospel. That is a problem. Remember the quote that we read earlier, right? Remember the quote, right? So that means even though it may be helping people in some ways to make a huge difference in their lives, but the gospel is kept out of sight, and that's also a huge problem. Now, I want you to hear to this logical appeal that Brother Hank makes at the end of the video here. This is another very significant point that he's about to make. Forget about the emotionalism. Listen carefully to the appeal.
Let's take an unimpassioned view of things. Let's just look at the facts. Let's say in an ideal scenario, I am successful in achieving two things. One, a discussion of the 2015 statement at the General Conference session. And 2, a discussion of the General Conference administration's membership, their relationship with the United Nations. Now, if there was no scandal either way, it is merely a question of opinion. It is not a biblical fact. It is an opinion to encourage immunization. If it is merely a question of opinion, and in this case they followed the opinion of science, it's the opinion of science that immunization is always good. If it is merely a question of opinion, the worst that could come from having that discussion is we waste an hour or 2 at the General Conference session. That's it. What other harm is there? Now, if there is ulterior harm, then maybe we should start being transparent about that. The same goes for the second point. If it is an opinion that we stand to gain from membership at the United Nations, then why can't we refresh and test that opinion and see, let's review the 40 years history with the United Nations, what has been the opportunity for the church? Let's just review that. Take all the emotions out of it. What is the worst that could happen? We waste another hour or 2 at the General Conference session time. But that is absolutely the forum for these discussions, because the General Conference administration has not fostered that debate. So where are the members to take their concerns regarding the opinion of the General Conference administration? The General Conference session is the only opportunity for that. So if we take all the emotion out of it, the worst that could happen is some time wasted in a General Conference session. And I understand it's an important meeting, and I understand it costs a lot of money to put it together. But give us those 4 hours. Give us those 4 hours to discuss these 2 points. And if the General Conference session wants to uphold relationships with the United Nations, tell me that. If the General Conference session wants to tell me that A, our health message is based on science, tell me that. Rewrite the introduction to the fundamental beliefs to say that we believe the Bible and the Bible alone, but on the question of health, we listen to science as well. It informs our belief on health. Just do that. Or if you want to remove the health message from the fundamental beliefs, those are decisions that only the General Conference session can make. But that's the only way to come out of this mess that the 2015 immunization statement has created. Either you remove the statement, or you insert science into the fundamental belief, or you remove the health message from the fundamental belief. Those are the only 3 options. So can we have that discussion? That's all we want. And if the General Conference session votes for that, then I'm fine. Then the matter is settled. And if the fundamental beliefs no longer reflect the Bible, I have to make a decision about my continuing membership. That is a decision that I would make if I was a Baptist. If I was a Catholic, I would make that decision. Do the stated beliefs of this organization reconcile to the Bible? And if they no longer do, then it's time for me to make a decision about my continuing membership. So there's a solution to get rid of me, is put science into the fundamental belief.
This is a matter that needs to be talked about, prayed about, in order for our church and our institution to continue to function effectively in these last days. A change must come, a positive change, a reformation must take place in our institution in order for us to function effectively. We have to cut loose from all of these ties. Now, the question is it possible?
Now, anyone who says, so why this suspicion about the United Nations? The question is, why do you assume the United Nations is above suspicion? They are a political body. Now, if the General Conference admin told you proudly, oh, we've got status with the Democrat Party of the US, would you not feel uncomfortable? Oh, we've got status with the Republican Party of the United States. Would you not feel uncomfortable? Should the church be uniting with political bodies and entering into relationships? I feel extremely uncomfortable. Be not unequally yoked. Is the church the bride of Christ? If the church is the bride of Christ, why is her leadership seeking an entanglement with the unholy? If she is the bride of Christ, why is Christ not enough? Why can we not have a relationship with Jesus Christ? That is my question. Why is that not enough? For the book of Hosea tells you when a woman goes after other lovers, that tells you quite clearly how her love grows cold for her Savior. Babylon is an example of one who has relations with the kings of the earth. Why is the General Conference administration seeking relationships with the United Nations? Our relationship should be with Jesus Christ alone. 2 Corinthians 6:14-18 says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers." Is the status with the United Nations a yoking of the General Conference to the United Nations, yes or no? For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? Are you seriously going to tell me that the United Nations is a body of believers? They're unbelievers. Are you going to tell me that they're a body of righteousness? They're a body of unrighteousness. What communion hath light with darkness? And what concord? Concord is an agreement. What concord hath Christ with Belial? Why is the General Conference administration in a concord with the United Nations? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, and as he has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them. It is my appeal, General Conference administration, come out. Come out of the United Nations. Give up your office in Geneva. Give up your office in New York. Come out of her.
Friends, this is not possible without the grace of God. The last thing I want to end with is what Dr. Conrad Vine said in the following statements. And the question was asked by Arnie Santag on the last podcast they did together on Apologetic at Seventh-day Adventist. And the question was asked, is there any hope that there could be a change? I want to close this video with his statements. Take a listen.
It's the million-dollar question out to our brother Conrad. Do you feel, and it's a loaded question, but in light of all that we've discussed, is there any real hope that the conference will truly relent on this subject, keeping in mind what just happened in New York and some of the things that are going to be coming up in the future? Are we at a point where we can say, yes, we believe that there's hope for this and that they will relent and make the apologies and do what's necessary to set the record straight?
The short answer is no, not a chance.
Yeah.
Unless God directly intervenes, the answer is no. In fact, the cancel culture campaign is intensifying. It's more explicit. It's more open. I won't name names, but very senior church leaders are meeting with groups of pastors behind the scenes to pressure for essentially my erasure from the Adventist world. Putting bans in many large regions of the country and around the world. There is no desire for or willingness for any kind of discussion, which is why, as Brother Dominic said, this is a spiritual matter. This is not a matter of logic or reason or scientific research or what the Spirit of Prophecy says. This is a matter of where it almost seems to me like an unclean spirit has taken over our hierarchy. And there is a spirit of domination that takes pleasure almost in wanting its power and trampling on the consciences of the members, knowing they can get away with it because the system is so rigged that the members no longer have a voice. And that foul spirit is a curse upon our church. Sister White wrote about the rule or ruin attitude, relating to what happened with the Nashville school many years ago. And we have that rule or ruin attitude now, and it is not of Christ. And so I fear and tremble for the future of our institutional church when I see good people going into church leadership roles and something happens and they end up believing that the system is the church. And part of our challenge is that we talk about the members. We are members of the church. And in that sentence, members of the church, there are two nouns and they are not synonymous. A more correct statement would be the members are the church. But when we say that we are members of the church then is the legal hierarchy and we are members who come and go. But once you are a functionary in the legal hierarchy, they come to view themselves as embodying the church, and what is good for the hierarchy financially must be good for the church, and vice versa. And so we have this almost Catholic approach to things, where the church is almost transcendent. It covers all time and space. It's a legal entity. It's a legal personality, and anybody who questions its unquestionable power must be crushed, because they're now a threat to the system. So, in short, the answer is no. There is no chance unless God directly intervenes. And the recent publication in the Atlantic Gleaner, which I think is the Atlantic Union magazine, in January this year, they had a long discussion from their PAL director on vaccine mandates. And they basically, if I may paraphrase, they said that Adventists always support preventative healthcare. Adventists would never oppose mandates. The only mandate we have is to be truthful, that we don't oppose mandates. So in 2015, we went from saying that vaccines are a matter of individual personal conscience, to 2021, the GC presumed the right to suspend the individual member's liberty of conscience vis-a-vis mandates. And now in 2025, we have a PAL director for the Atlantic Union, that's where the General Conference is based, stating that essentially the church will always support mandates. That's an incredible journey we've come on in 10 years' time. We're moving exactly the wrong direction. This is going to lead to pushback and a reaction from the members. And it is better for the leaders who are wise to head off a potential conflict over this by recognizing that the direction the leaders are going in is unbiblical. You cannot sustain it from the spirit of prophecy, and is causing more and more members to lose any confidence they have in the leadership of the church.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Actually, you hit a couple of nails right on the head. And I think most people don't understand what the church is. You know, what's the difference between the organizational structure and what the true church is? And of course, we know the true church, as you said, so aptly said, is it's the people. And all you have to do is go back and read Hebrews chapter 12, the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, of which Christ is the head. That's the true church. It's not an organizational structure. It's not a building. It's not four walls. And that's a subject, I think, if people would grasp that, they would be less likely to get into a position of being submissive to the powers that be. They put things on an even playing field. We are all brethren in Christ Jesus, and that's the way it should be. And unfortunately, I think most people are lacking that understanding.